watching this webinar how to answer the SIP 2.0 questionnaire, a new approach to reporting in Prime. So today, myself, Gustavo, and my colleague Tung Sheng, we're going to present a little bit about this journey of implementation of the SIP 2.0. We'll talk a little bit in this new process for reporting, and also bring to you a perspective related to the PRME Commons. I will encourage you to use the Q&A session for your questions, everything that you need, issues that you may have. So we have some time during the session to reply this back. Feel free to put your questions anytime you want in the Q&A session. We are here to support and to help. Going ahead and start this presentation. So I'm Gustavo Loyola, Manager for Leadership Education. I've been engaged with Prime the past 10 years, past representing my business school, and now as a Secretariat member. I was a member of the SIP committee that worked together for more than 2 years during this process of revising the SIP, the reporting process. I will address this a little bit more. And today I'll be your host together with my colleague Tung Tung. Tung Tung, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Tung Tung, and I'm based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm the manager of PRME Commons, which is a reporting platform that we developed for the SIP submission. So I'm really excited to present to you sort of how that can be integrated and into the PRME Commons platform, and also our plans for next year. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Tung Tung. So this will be an interactive presentation, and you talk about some topics until we bring another one. Again, feel free to raise your questions and use the Q&A session as much as you want. Well, to start, I would like to bring an overview and about the sharing information on progress, or reporting to that we have inside Prime. So since Prime was created and under the principles, etc., it was interesting to see the need of getting and understanding how schools are connected to Prime, how schools are implementing Prime principles. And that's why the share information on progress were created back in 2008. The share information on progress is the way that we track and the way that we understand the commitment of the school, the institution that is participating on Prime, and how they are implementing, integrating Prime principles inside their initiatives, their different strategies, their practices, their curricula, research, and so on. This is also a mandatory requirement for signatories. So since you join Prime, since you commit to Prime principles, you need to prepare and you need to deliver a share information on progress, a report. And this is part of your commitment with Prime. This will be part of the way to demonstrate that you are a committed institution. Of course, you need to engage, you need to show this engagement. So the SIP brings a commitment letter representing, indicating that your school is really committed to Prime and how you're doing that and how you plan to do that in the following years. Some description of practical actions and the assessment of outcomes and different and key specific objectives. So again, it's a way to demonstrate the way that you're integrating Prime at your institution. It's a way to reinforce your commitment with Prime principles. Since the SIP report were established in 2008, we have more than 2,500 registered SIP reports. And here, just out of curiosity, the first 2 SIP reports we had was from Bentley University, US, and Odense Business School, both Prime signatories. So since then, since that time, 2,500 reports in our platform. And this is an interesting number because I'm going to talk a little bit about this process and the transition that we're passing now from SIP 1.0 to SIP 2.0 based on those numbers. As I just said, we have a lot of information related to business schools since Prime was created. But as you know, the SIP report, it's let's say usually a static PDF file or a Word document that lists all the activities and initiatives that the schools are doing related to Prime principles, related to integrating Prime, or even the SDGs, etc., etc. But since it was created, there's no clear structure in how to report on Prime. Of course, we have some guidance. We have different guidelines in how to create that, different materials that were created during the past few years. But every signatory, every institution creates its own narrative, its own way to demonstrate how they're integrating SIP reports. So this brings this multitudes of perspectives. At the same time, brings some authenticity for the signatory, like because as you know, we have, for example, the CP awards that are delivered during Global Forum that are looking to high quality SIP reports based in the way that the information is shared, based in the way that the information is structured, or even some schools that do interesting designs on their SIP reports, visuals, images, etc., etc. This is great. But when we think about impact and measurement of impact about Pride as an initiative, or really to understand our community knowledge, for us, it's really hard to analyze this data. Again, because there's no, it's not a structured data, it's an unstructured data. It's a PDF report, and every school reports in the way that they feel is the proper rate, in the way that they understand that they are integrating Prime principles. Again, this is not wrong, but it's not like the way that will push us forward. As for example, nowadays, it's been discussed a lot, for example, about accountability, about measurement of impact, about the impact that Prime is generating in the past 15 years of society, the impact that we can generate for responsible management education community, the impact that we are generating on the SDGs. So we need this information. We need to understand the amazing work, and we need to know the amazing work that our signatories are doing. And this is what we want with the SIP 2.0 logic. So this new logic brings different ways of thinking. One, it's having more like structured data. So we're using the SIP questionnaire, that is the set of questions that were built in the past few years, like through the SIP committee that created and worked this document, this questionnaire, based in different consultations also with the community, to try to identify some key questions that help us to understand Prime integration inside an institution, that help us to understand how the principles are being integrated in different institutions. So the questionnaires brings this structured way to understand this connection. Also, the SIP 2.0 aims to, again, align with Prime principles. We now just launched the 7 principles, the refreshed principles, and the intention is to bring those questions more direct to each of those principles. So schools can have more clarity when we talk about propose, for example, what these mean. When we talk about teach, what these mean. And even for new Prime signatories, it makes easier for them to understand how to integrate Prime and understand the questions as a blueprint for Prime integration, for example. And that brings a lot of different opportunities also, some accountability even for your own institution, so you can understand, you can track your progress on Prime principles implementation, you can have this institutional learning, your institutional journey integrating Prime principles as soon as the year passes. You can also understand and do some global and regional annual analysis. So again, for us as Prime, when we need to tell the story about our impact, we as an organization, we can tell like what is happening in a specific region, what schools, let's say from Brazil, are doing, what the schools from Eastern Europe are doing, what the school on South Asian are doing related to prime principles or related to the SDGs, so we can better understand this information and really better serve our own community. So we can understand and look into like the challenge, the issues, what are the needs, what are the trends that are happening all around the world, and really create different solutions, or really organize different conversations, and really put people together. So this is the intention. And another change that we're passing to the SIP 1.0 to the SIP 2.0 logic is that the SIP will be an annual exercise and following a universal submission period. So Prime, at the same time that Prime was revising the SIP report process, UNGC were also revising the COP, the communication of progress of their signatories. And looking to this alignment between organizations, we decided to follow the same path. So we will have a universal submission period that will be from March to June every year. So during this period, our school will have the opportunity to go to the Prime Commons that we'll talk a little bit later on, answer the questions, go there and go in, go out, zoom in, zoom out, analyze, reflect on the data and the information, etc. And this will give us the opportunity to really get insights from the submissions right after the submission period ends. So let's say end of June, July, August, etc. We can generate reports, we can reflect about the community needs and expectations, etc. And we can give this back to the community so we can learn from each other, so we can grow together in that census. And again, having this as an annual exercise also bring the possibility for you as a school to understand your process and your progress every year. And of course, we also understand that you may not have like, for example, new data every year. But bringing the question and the question being asked every year makes, again, the school to follow this path, to really evolve in the implementation and really evolve on SDG and prime principles integration. So this is pretty much about this transition where we came, the SIP 1.0 to the SIP 2.0. I will pass now to my colleague Tung Tung to talk a little bit about Prime Commons and how the SIP questionnaire is part of this broader strategy. So Tung Tung, over to you.
Yes, thank you. I want to encourage all the participants to use the Q&A section where Gustavo and I will take turns to really reflect on your question and try to also answer them throughout our presentation. So I've saw a couple of comments already from Muhammad, so please feel free to engage. And one of the questions was about feedback mechanism, and I will address that in the subsequent slides later. So about the Commons, Commons is a self-reporting tool for the SIP 2.0 and for all the past report repositories. So basically you can still access the 2,500 reports from Commons, as well as being able to submit your SIP data through the first, this self-reporting tool. We have the ambition to have these 3 layers of Commons. And of course, next year, I just want to say that we're focusing on the SIP submission and not building on layer 2 and 3 yet. This is our ambition. But yeah, it's not part of the first deliverable of the first year. So what you can all expect and the launch date of somewhere mid-March or end of March, we will be able to open it up for all the business schools to submit their answers to the questionnaire. So in layer 2, the ambition is to have a resource sharing community. So from the education and pedagogical materials that you submit with the evidence that you submit, you can decide the different access and sharing rights with the community. And then you can also have a place where you can communicate with each other, and also have a place where you can comment on each other's resources to say, hey, how do you conducted these innovations, or how do you have these best practice case studies within the context of your business school, and how can I learn from you and each other? So basically, that's a layer 2, which is a more communicative, feedback-oriented peer-to-peer platform that will be integrated to the SIP. And then the final layer 2 is to have some kind of a unique institutional profile. So in that sense, imagine that, of course, we're starting this exercise right now, right? In next year. So imagine where this has been an ongoing exercise for 3 years to 5 years. You would have evidence of sort of how different concerns and different issues your institutions have picked up, and how you can share that with your external and internal stakeholders. So we will be creating a SIP dashboard on the basis of our experience in the first year on the data that we collected. I will also talk more about how we will engage the community to create such a profile. Another thing is that how does this all relate to the ranking and accreditation agencies, right? So we are currently not thinking of that yet. We will be able to create some kind of functionality where we link, where you directly transfer the data you already have within the Commons platform to sort of lighten the burden of reporting for your other ranking and accreditation agency. But the goal is first and foremost the SIP, which is to monitor progress and to encourage accountability and transparency across institution. Yeah. Next slide. So what is Prime Commons? It is a comprehensive digital platform to support Prime's work in creating, organizing, sharing responsible management education content, and of course, reporting to foster collaboration, communication, recognition within the global RME community. So the idea here is not only that you can submit your answers to the SIP on the basis of the questions and concerns and issues that are driving RME, but also for create a space where we can talk about this issue and organize ourselves on a global scale. Next slide. So this one, Gustavo, can you discuss what was the sort of process for the SIP 2.0 questionnaire?
Yeah, so again, bringing some background about the SIP questionnaire and how we arrived at this document, at this set of questions. So November 2020, by the end of November 2020, Prime Board established the Prime Subcommittee on Share Information on Progress Impact. The committee was led by Professor Wilfred Michat from Rotterdam Business School. And the group worked together until June this year, preparing and creating this process, all the questions and all the reflections related to this transition. Initially in phase 1, when this group was together, the intention was try to understand which logic works better for the SIP, for the share information progress. And of course, understanding all the background that I shared with you, like the years of knowledge being generated, the way that the schools were reporting until now, and also alignment with different and external stakeholders to get some inspiration. And again, that time we right in the beginning connected with the UN Global Compact because they were passing by the same process with their COP. So this helped us to understand and to create this SIP logic, like what we aim to achieve with the informational progress, with the way that the schools are being reporting. After that, we started a different process of consultations. So in the beginning, we had almost 200 questions that we're aiming to ask for Prime signatories to understand how they were integrating Prime principles. And now we have, for example, about 30 questions on it. And we arrived at this number based on different levels of consultation. So we consulted Prime community, but also we explored different stakeholders. We explore the ecosystem of reporting. So we look into GRI. We also looked and connected with AACSB, Financial Times, different rankings and associations. We're engaged for this conversation, trying to understand what they are looking when they ask about sustainability integration, and also showing, demonstrating the way and the path that Prime are going on this topic. So that said, again, initially we dreamed about it, we developed the logic about the CIP 2.0, we start to create some questions, some indicators, and we start to question the community, to do some different consultations, to engage with different stakeholders, and then we arrive in a set of 33 questions that were pilot with some early adopter schools. So beginning this year, from January to April, a group of schools joined together and pilot those questions. So the questionnaire were pilot for those schools. They're there answering, getting data, getting information, interacting with us, bringing feedbacks, inputs, questions, and more questions that help us really to understand a little bit more about what we're asking. But nevertheless, I provided really good input and feedback that helps to construct the Prime Commons logic that Tung just presented. So lot of things that you're seeing here were part of this early adopter process that we had with some Prime signatories that help us together and put this process forward. Again, this is a community knowledge. This was created for and by the community, group of representatives, different levels of consultation and engagement, etc. And as Sun said, this is really new for Prime. And this will be really a transformational change in this process, because we're talking here about digitalization. We're talking here about a different level of peer learning. We're talking here about transparency, about openness, about different source of information, different ways of reporting. So we're changing 15 years of Prime, of the story of reporting in a different way, in different logic that we hope will better serve the community, that we hope will better create more solutions. That's why this process was so engaged, and we went to different levels of consultation and integration and connecting different voices, because we understand the importance of it, and we really understand how this can help us to move forward. But again, just talking here about the questions, but I think a fundamental logic and a fundamental transformation logic, it's related to some core concepts that I think it's the major takeaway from today. Understand some core concepts that we'll be using inside Prime Commons. So again, we'll invite Tung to talk about those core concepts that we have inside Prime Commons.
Yes. Gustavo, there is a question there about yearly reporting. Yeah, if you can have a look on that. Here, I'm going to talk about the core concepts that we will introduce within Commons and the related objects. So, of course, the questionnaire is based on a series of multiple choice questions. And then you can click in this multiple choice question and you're asked to upload one of these 4 objects that we call. So what do we have here is a learning resource. So a learning resource could be any educational material, such as a book, video, article, course, or any form of learning content that were introduced in the classroom. And then we have a policy. Policy is any official written statements that outline the principles, guidelines, and procedures governing specific areas of operation within the institution. So we could ask about what is your diversity, equity, and inclusion policy? Is there a policy for sustainability in terms of travel and so on? So you can upload these policies there. And there will be a narrative. Narrative is a distinct story or account, such as a case study, real life example, whether it be a historical event or any narrative employed for educational objectives. So imagine a space where, of course, it's a Q&A, there's a multiple choice. There will be also open field when you can submit your narrative, tell your story that is beyond what was asked in the questions, right? So it could be like, okay, this question is really interesting. It's not really relevant for our context because we're based here and this is what our society or our societal issues are. So narrative gives much more room for you to express yourself beyond the multiple choice questions that we ask. And then there's a statement. Statement is a formal written communication or document developed by your higher education institution, such as a letter, mission statement, and strategy. Next slide. So here I provide, so I provide a more detailed definition of the different, the 4 types of objects. So we're not going to ask you to upload anything more than this. Another thing that you might notice here is what is missing is actually research objects. So the reason why we're not developing any type of new data, new metadata for research object is because in the field of research intelligence, where I'm from, there is a very good sort of DOI, the registration and sort of metadata standards of research are very mature. So there is no need to redevelop this. So if in any case you have a research article, you copy and paste the DOI there and you can upload it. So that wouldn't be an issue there. So a lot of the things that we focus on are educational or learning resources and institutional sort of paper and documentation such as policy and statement. Yes, next slide.
So,
yeah, Gustavo.
okay, so here about prime principles in CIP 2.0, as you maybe saw yesterday, we launched the refreshed prime principles. There are now 7 principles related to propose, values, teach, research, partner, practice, and share. As you see, the principles are now more action-oriented. And every question that we have inside the CIP 2.0 questionnaire are related to the prime principles. Until yesterday, we had a version of the questionnaire that were divided by the 6 principles, but now we are doing this rearrangement, looking to the 7 principles logic. Important to note, one, if you're already familiar with the questionnaire that were available on the website until yesterday, if you already start some conversations at your institution and etc., don't worry, there's no change on the questions itself. We're just reorganizing the questions related to the 7 principles. So the logic's still the same, the concepts are the same. We're just reorganized on it. And the topics is still there. So for example, here, when we talk about propose, we're really looking to commitment with prime, strategic alignment, involvement in prime. When we talk about values, we're talking about policies, practices related to, for example, diversity, equity, and inclusion, about environmental practice, the way that this is connected to the school. When we talk about teach, we're talking about programs, different topics, curricula, faculty development, research and partner, about stakeholders, different networks, business sector, alumni relation, the topics and how, for example, your research is connected to the SDGs. When we talk about practices, we're talking about community, different events, student organizations, communications, and of course, reporting on prime. So the process that we are right now, it's to reorganize the questions related to prime principles and reorganize the questions related to the commons logic. So in January webinar, we're going to focus more on how the questions are now connected to prime principles and on the logic of prime commons. As Tuntung mentioned, from March next year, Prime Commons will be available for you to use and to interact and to connect and to look into the questions, to navigate and to get familiar with it. But from January to March, we are hosting more different webinars also to bring the questions related to principles, related to Prime Commons. So you may expect an update on the document by January. Tuntung, over to you.
Yes. So I think there is a lot of anxiety about whether or not this will create more work as we do an annual data collection, right? So if I reviewed the current SIP 2.0, there are about a total of 36 questions. But these are the 9 required set of questions that the Secretariat has identified that you must provide responses to. So, of course, the platform allows you to start. So the submission period is between March till June for now, and that you can come in and out of the platform. And then at the end, you don't even need to click submit because we have a deadline set to the questionnaire. And once you submit all your data, and by the deadline, the questionnaire closes and whatever answer that you submitted is just there. So of these 9 sets of questions, the topics are, what is your commitment to Prime? So in this case, you need to definitely upload that letter or statement from your business school. Because this is part of your commitment to Prime, and that's what being a communicating member is about, for example. The second topic that we ask is the strategic alignment with Prime, and here as well, we ask for, hey, do you have a statement for that policy document or how you're aligning with Prime? And there we'll provide more example. And here in research, again, there's no objects specifically. Whatever sort of research articles or textbooks that you want to put up there, feel free to provide us with the data. So the programs, what kind of programs do you teach within your school? Here we ask for a learning resource. And then on the faculty level, we ask whether or not what are the sort of promotion or what are the faculty decisions on certain things, so you can upload a policy. In terms of partnership and collaboration, here we ask you to click, do you collaborate with industry partner and so on. So if you look at all the sort of non-applicable status, it's more really a subjective question. And then you have students. You can also provide narrative on how you engage with students and the community beyond your students and, for example, alumni. And then we ask what kind of accreditation and rankings and other networks that you're a part of, for example, EMBA, AACSB, EQUIS, and so on. So these are, in essence, I would say that the reporting burden actually were reduced instead of, So we do not want to add too many questions, and then we will also review whether or not these nice questions will be sufficient for us to review and track and monitor progress in the coming years. Of course, the one thing to mention as well, the SIP questionnaire is something that is very flexible within the Commons platform. Of course, the content of the question, the gist of it, the intention or the goal of the question will remain the same, what we want to seek to measure, but the way it will be formulated can be flexible and change, but all of that is very much in sort of our communication with you, as well as how these questions will be useful and helpful for you to answer and to move forward in the space of RME. Yeah. Gustavo, do you have anything else to add here?
Yeah. No, I just would like to bring in to clarify one question that just popped up here. Those are the topics of the 9 questions. Okay, so the 9 questions, of course, will be released together with the questionnaire, the revised questionnaire. But those 9 questions are inside the current document. They're there. So so here the topics. the question related to this topic is really, okay, if your school is committed to Prime, and could you please provide, for example, the statement after dean demonstrated our commitment. That was something, for example, that were already mandatory in the past SIP report logic. Again, the second, how Prime is aligned with your school mission, vision, etc., etc. If there are some explicit relationship, if it's something related to, let's say, broader sustainability or broader SDGs, etc. Even on research, like research topics or research publication that you have that are related to it, programs, faculty, etc., etc. So the questions are around those topics. As Sun Tung said, I think one of the issues in this moment that we are, it's that we create the questions, and the way that the questions are constructed, we're based in a analogical logic, in the best way that analyzing the best way that the schools are reporting, analyzing different frameworks and different schemata for reporting on sustainability, on educational practices, etc. For the past few years. But now we are transitioned to a digital logic, and at the same time that the Prime Commons is being built. And that's what I said, for example, from January on, this is will be the focus of the webinars, like how the questions are translated to the Prime Commons logic, and to support you to answer, to report back. And it's important to be clear that the intention is to make it easier and self-guided. So the way that the questions are being pushed and inserted in the Prime Commons is to support you to have like a smooth journey through your reporting. So for example, as Sun Tung said, if we ask, do you have student engagement related to do you have like different activities to engage with your students related to sustainability? You may say yes. And right after that, it opens a space for you to tell your story, to tell your narrative. So this will make the process easier. And also another piece of it is that you can assign different people of your institution to support you to reply those questions. So for example, you can assign your head of faculty, or you can assign your head of research, or you can assign a specific administrative person to support you. So you can assign different people to provide data and information for the Prime Commons. Of course, those people will not be responsible to send out, to press go and to revise the questions. This is only one single person, that will be the school representative, to say, to validate all the data of all the information. But this could be a collaborative exercise inside your own institution. And just to finalize, another question that popped up here, when the questions like to appear on the website. So until yesterday, we had the questionnaire version based on the Prime 6 principles. From now until January, we are working this revamp and reorganizing, and also translating the questions for the Commons logic. So in January, those questions in this logic will be available at the same time that we are having different webinars to support to support the community into this transition. So you may expect to have this new version in January. But again, the questions will not be new. There are no new questions. There are no change on it. We're just changing the way of framing, because we need to adapt for the Prime Commons logic, for the digital logic on it. So this will be out in January. Before I hand over to you, Tung Tung, one, yes, the record is available on the Prime website. We already had the first webinar record available on the Prime website. So all records will be available there, the SIP 2.0 page. And every month we're having a webinar. As we progress with the Prime Commons, we're hosting webinars to support that, and all webinars are being recorded and shared on the Prime website SIP 2.0 page. Okay, Tung Tung?
Yes. So I want to talk about so the submission of data and how will we handle the data and the privacy measures that will be in place. Of course, The Commons is a digital platform that collects information of all 800 signatories that we have, more than 800 signatories. Right now, what we're used to is that the SIP report is accessible by public. And we also want to ensure user data confidentiality so that right now the user data will only be shared with Prime and not publicly, nor with other university for the first release of Prime Commons. And for those of you who would receive, because you're a Prime signatory member, you will have access to your own university's account, and you will have sufficient privileges to access your organizational data. And right now we're thinking about having about 2 to 3 users per organization. So for example, me and Gustavo will be from the same university and business school, for example. We will both have access to our university's data. We will both be able to read and write for the Commons, but only Gustavo, who is the Prime representative or agent in this case, that click submit and finalize this. But it can be a collaborative effort between different users in order to complete the SIP questionnaire. We will also send an invitation to chapter chairs to nominate a data expert within the chapter to review and discuss the contents of the privacy policy and the terms of use. So I think it's really important that as we move in the responsible management education field, to be really aware of sort of platform capitalism, the ability for other outsiders, third party, to use this data in order to generate more content or to create another ranking, which we do not want. Because the goal of the SIP is really to contextualize the effort and progress being made, not only showing our best foot forward, but also being able to reflect on the actions that we're currently taking now to tackle the major challenges and crises that we have right now. So it's really important that how we move forward with the Commons in terms of the kind of data partnership and the kind of data that we want to share with the public and internally with ourselves. I believe that there is a reflection needed within the community that goes beyond the Prime Secretariat or my position as a project manager for Commons, right? So these all will happen as we launch the Commons. And we will be focusing on these issues within 2024. We do not aim to solve this in one day, or what we plan to do is really engage with the community, nominating data expert to really have a framework on what we can share and how we can be as open as possible while also being as safe as possible. Yeah. So this is the core functional specification of the Commons. So there is 4 really important aspect here. So the first aspect of us is what you can expect is to create and store a survey. So the ability to feature multiple surveys, because you can have SIP 2024, SIP 2025. It could also be potentially used for communication on progress, other types of UN surveys, UNGC surveys, to investigate different survey versioning over time. So we can have a space, because imagine all these 2,500 reports that nobody will ever read. But now we have a structured place to really have a good overview of an analysis. But the downside of that is to potentially miss a very rich narrative and storytelling. But we will try to sort of make up for that by making sure that you are able to upload object. So the object repository display a full list of your organizational object. So imagine if there's so many people who come and go within your business school, and some people will understand what Prime is about and some people don't know, and they would have no idea if there will be a SIP submission period again. So by having a good overview and a repository of all the objects you've uploaded, people after us will be able to understand what was required and also prepare for that process to be engaged continuously with Prime. So here, the object models, the metadata, submissions, and visualization of these objects will also create. And then we have narratives as well, so that these are stories written by the users, and also imagine a space where you can tell how you've done something very successfully and you're very proud of. And you can also link back with some of the object and link back to your statement, for example, and showcase the relationship between the question, your answer, and the evidence that you upload, right? So finally, we have analytics, where we showcase the survey analysis. In the case that we say, okay, we want to share this learning resource with each other from one business school from another, or within a chapter, for example, we can also have usage metrics. We can also have content engagement, how many people have liked this, commented on this. We will be able to have a time-based insights, different kinds of user segmentation or data visualization for the purpose of showing how much we've shared information on progress. Yes. Next slide. So now we're officially in the Q&A session. I see that we have about 9-10 minutes left. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. Will other Prime business schools be able to see and access our data? Gustavo, I see you're going to answer this.
No, I put there for you to answer, but like I think you can bring the different phases that we're thinking about this.
Yeah. The answer is no. We will want to be able to aggregate the data. So the extent which I think this is a really interesting question, and that's why we want to nominate the chapter chairs and say, okay, to what extent we want to showcase, because it is about progress and we want to show other business school what we've done. So to what extent we're comfortable with doing that, and how to envision, how do we prep for this data analysis and reporting on a institutional level or on a national, regional, and global level. So there is a lot to say there on the type of data that everyone will be able to see and access. But I think one thing that is really the added value of Commons should be that you will be able to benchmark or look at yourself and say, oh, we've indeed made progress. Can you imagine 5 years ago, we did not have a sustainability center and now we do, for example. And I think there is sort of mechanism and framework needed to say, what is it that we want to see and access, and how can we benefit from this information? Because the truth is, we're living in a world where we're overloaded with data, and even with scientific publishing, we're having a lot of research waste. So how do we deal with this issue of data quality, making sure that progress can be made and learning can happen within such a platform? So this is an answer that we don't have yet, but we're willing to explore in the upcoming years together, and having a SIP platform, a running platform in which we can collect these data for Prime Secretariat, I think it will be the beginning of a large exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. I put this slide here back so we can have more visibility on the 3 different layers or levels that we aim to achieve with Prime Commons. We're now right in the layer 1, in the start, that is sharing, in this process of self-reporting and repository. So this means that is a moment where school go there to Prime Commons, upload data and information, report on it. And then Prime, as an organization, we as Secretary can generate different reports and insights based on this data. And I think it's important to say that we're not, in those reports, some case, we're not attaching information to the name of the school. Like the intention is not to rank any school and things like this, but really to understand the better case, better practice, and help and support and generate content to support the community development. So this is really the first one, the layer one that we're on it. But as we grow as platform, as we go in this digital transformation process, because it's a cultural change that we need to have on Prime, we also grow in the way that we share, that we communicate, and then we are sharing our data and our information to others and to different colleagues. And this, what is the meaning of layer 2 and layer 3, for example, where we have, for example, layer 2. And when we talk about layer 2, we're thinking in 2 years from now, let's say, we can have this sharing community. We can have peer learning, that you can compare your data and information with different regions, different contexts to understand what others are doing, what are the trends on a region, in a specific context, etc., etc. And one of the things that Tuntum brought now is that we don't know yet, like if this will be named. Like you can go there and see, okay, let's see what B School A is doing on this topic, but maybe you can see the trends on your country, like what all the schools in our country are doing. So this is something that we build and we need to understand and to create together with the community. As she said, it's not under our mandate to decide the information that should be to everyone or the information that should not be shared, and etc. This needs to be built together with the community. That's why the process that we are like and moving to the next level, again, inviting different representatives to different regions to discuss together like what will be the best way forward on it. But one important note, like our suggestions, like our information that you share with us, like in the SIP Commons, should be information that is open, that is to be shared. We don't want you to share it. For example, when we ask about policy, we don't want you sharing policies that are just for internal use, for example, or like this is not for public. All the information that that is to be shared here is information that are public, information that it's available to everyone. So you also don't need to worry about that. We don't want like classified information or internal information of our business school. Just when we ask about policy, about curriculum, etc., share information that is public, that is available to everyone. So it's another note on this process. Do we have more questions? I think we like ending our time here. But again, I think I just would like to conclude with some reflections, and also bring Tuntun, if you want to jump, feel free to do it. One, here on the screen, you have a QR code, but also the website of the SIP 2.0 page. All the information is there. We also have a FAQ session with like the questions that we get the most from signatories. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out through us through the email. And what we're doing, like as we get questions, we answer those questions and we put there on the website on the FAQ session. You also find there all the records of the webinars and the agenda for the next ones and the topics that we're taking for the future. As I said, don't worry too much. Like, we're building this process together with you. Like, as we move forward, we are going to communicate, we're going to engage the community, we're going to host different webinars, we're going to engage in the chapter level, etc., to support the community in this transition process. As I said, we're starting next year, 2024, with the first universal submission period, but this is a transition period, because at the same time that we started with it, we're launching the platform. So you're welcome to join the platform to get familiar with it. Again, we'll be hosting webinars every month to support this process, to support you in this transition. And then we're moving on this process. We will support this transition, and we build this together with you. And again, we start this transition process in 2024. This will push to 2025, and then from 2025 on, like as I said, SIP will be an annual exercise and things like this. So we can move forward. We will move together on this process. So stay tuned for the communications, for the information. And I don't know, Tuntun, do you want to add something else?
Yes, so I see that someone is interested to know how many people is on the call. We have 17 people, including me and Gustavo. We already had another similar webinar with a very high turnout. There was 68 people because of the timing of it, I guess. And also it's the end of the year. So I understand that it's really, really a busy time at business schools right now and the university. So yeah, I just want to end with the same where we're going to present the design, the launch of Commons when it happens. We will take your hand, guide you step by step on both the content and also what is required to upload it. And since it is a transition period, you are still free to upload or send us your PDF report. We will accept it. It will be part of the platform. And we're slowly moving towards this period where we want to receive a more structured data format for the SIP reporting. And so to what extent this exercise would work for all of us, we will also use next year to really figure it out. So between March and June, it is the submission period, and then we have Q3 to really prepare and engage with the community about what kind of data we should generate from it, what insights can we learn from that, and how do we all see this moving forward, and what kind of functionality needs to be changed or improved for the upcoming year. Yeah. That's it from my side.
Thanks, Tuntun. Thanks, Tuntun. Thanks, everyone, for the engagement and participation. Again, invite you to check the website. As I said, January, we will come with the set of questions and rearrange it with the 7 principles. We're also hosting a different webinar to talk about this topic, disconnection and interaction. And again, we move forward with the monthly sessions to support you during this transition. Feel free to reach us if you have any questions on this process. See you next time. Again, thank you so much. Enjoy your day, your evening, your night, or whatever you're at. See you.
Thank you, Gustavo.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.